Hello, welcome to IH Talks. I'm Estelle Leloin from IH World. Today we're talking about student-focused practice for newer teachers with Mary Pepper. The general subject of this talk is teacher training and CPD.
Hello, I'm Marie from IH Manchester.
Hello, Marie. So tell me what you think we should be talking about student-focused practice for newer teacher.
I think this is a really important topic because newer teachers have a lot of challenges to deal with as they start on their teaching journey. I think one of the biggest challenges is learning to teach reactively, to notice and then respond to the students in the room. And I think it's really important for academic managers to acknowledge that and to kind of guide teachers specifically towards the things that they should be paying attention to that they might not even be aware of, as they're so focused on maybe the content or the material or the technology and all the other things that they have to think about at the same time.
Indeed. So tell us, how did you come to be interested in this topic?
There's a couple of reasons really. First of all, after the pandemic, I found that a lot of our new teachers were newly qualified, say fresh off CELTA, very little teaching experience. I think, as from speaking to other people, it's been the same across a lot of schools that a lot of teachers kind of moved on, had a career change, did something different with the pandemic. So, newer teachers coming through now are literally just kind of newly qualified. And yeah, for me that was a new thing. I'd always worked with much more experienced teachers, and I found that I had to start to adapt how I kind of worked with teachers and helped them on their with their development. I realized that doing the same kind of things I'd always done didn't work, didn't have the same impact with newer teachers. So simply observing, giving feedback, saying, you should do this. Actually, they just weren't able to think about those things in the lesson, in the moment of teaching. I observed a teacher and I was pointing out some things, and he was saying, "Oh, yeah, I didn't notice that. I didn't notice that." That was his response. And so I realized, well, there's no point me telling him after a lesson, you could have done this or you should have done this, if he didn't even notice during the lesson. So yeah, I realized that it wasn't about kind of competency, but simply about kind of awareness and ability to notice things in the lesson. Around that same time, I attended a webinar, and then I started to read some research about this idea of guided attention for newer teachers, and the idea that experienced practitioners are able to respond to things just in a way that newer teachers aren't. From experience, teachers are able to kind of process lots of information, are able to respond to things that are happening in the classroom subconsciously, and make decisions and react to students. Whereas new teachers, just have so many things to focus on that certain things inevitably kind of get missed. And so, from those two things, I started to kind of experiment with and try out different approaches to support the teachers that I was working with.
Great. Could you give us specific examples of how you put that into practice?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things was error correction. I spoke to some of the teachers who had kind of started working with us, and asked them kind of a few months into their teaching what they had found hardest when they first started teaching. And when it came to error correction, a couple of teachers said that they weren't able initially to notice things. They were so focused on the students actually doing the tasks, and if they were speaking, they were just happy that the students were speaking. But as time went on, they were able to notice more and then think about how to respond. We had done a lot of sessions, development sessions in the school, on kind of error correction, what kind of error, how to correct, when to correct. But that in itself wasn't enough, during the lesson for teachers to put that into practice. So a very practical thing I did was some team teaching with newer teachers. So focusing on that area. So in one lesson, I went in, teacher taught a lesson. I sat and just made notes throughout the lesson of things that I would maybe correct it if I were teaching. And then at the end of the lesson, I went through and did the feedback stage, and then we swapped. So in a subsequent lesson, I taught the lesson, the teacher simply kind of noted down so that, they were able to focus just on the production from the students. And then they did the feedback session at the end. I also encourage teachers to start with correction from written work, because obviously they've got more time to process, to think about things. So to build in more written work to the lessons, even if it's just, writing a few sentences before doing a speaking task, something like that. Something that would help draw the teacher's attention to the student's production. I also produced a kind of a poster of common errors. We have students from all over the world, but whatever their first language is, there are similar kind of mistakes, things with prepositions or with tenses or missing articles, that kind of thing. So we now have a poster on the classroom wall in every classroom. So again, that just guides teachers towards the kind of things that they should be listening out for, and that they will probably hear in their lessons.
That sounds really, really effective. So to summarize, it's very much about developing the ability of newer teachers to notice.
Yeah, exactly. Just helping to reduce that kind of cognitive load that, and help them to kind of see what they need to be thinking of, focusing on, just to help the students as much as possible, which is what all teachers want to do, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you very much, Mary. And this concludes our IH Talks for today.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.